Fear is not a natural master of man, it is a squatter, a trespasser, an intruder that enters only when the rightful owner of the mind has stepped away. And when does the mind's true owner, the will, the conscious direction, step away? It is when a man or woman lacks a definite purpose. Without a central aim, the mind drifts, and a drifting mind is like an open house in a storm. The winds of fear rush in, the rains of doubt flood in, and soon the foundation of courage is weaned. But give that same mind a burning purpose, a definite aim so clear and so strong that every fiber of your being is pulled toward it, and fear will have no soil in which to take root. Consider this a ship without a destination drifts endlessly upon the sea, tossed by every wind, threatened by every wave. Its crew grows restless, its resources are wasted, and at last it may sink. But a ship that sails under orders, with compass fixed upon a chosen port, cuts through the same waters with confidence. The storms do not frighten it, because the captain knows where he is going. So it is with your life. A mind without purpose is at the mercy of fear, but a mind with purpose commands the storm. You may say, "But I have many desires. I wish for success, wealth, health, and happiness." Yet desires are not enough. A wish is a flicker of flame that the first gust of fear can extinguish. Purpose, on the other hand, is a fire so intense that even the fiercest winds of fear only cause it to burn brighter. A wish is weak because it expects conditions to be favorable. A purpose is strong because it bends conditions to its will. And in the presence of that kind of determination, fear shrinks into nothingness. Examine the men and women who have risen above mediocrity, and you will find one common trait: they had a purpose so definite that fear could not hold them back. The inventor who stays awake through the night perfecting his creation, the leader who walks into criticism with steady steps, the dreamer who works when others rest, all are moved by a force greater than fear. That force is purpose. Fear whispers to them, "You may fail," but purpose thunders back, "I must succeed." The moment you fix your mind upon a definite aim, you enter into alliance with unseen powers. Your energy is multiplied, your vision is sharpened, and your will grows firm. In such a state, fear cannot dwell, for fear thrives in hesitation, but purpose gives no room for hesitation. Fear thrives in confusion, but purpose clears confusion like sunlight clears the fog. Fear thrives in doubt, but purpose makes doubt look foolish. Think of the soldier in battle. If he fights without a cause, fear takes hold of his heart. But if he fights for home, for family, for freedom, then fear cannot enslave him. His cause is greater than his fear. And so it must be with you. Give your life a cause so great, a purpose so burning, that fear dares not approach. And if you say, "But I do not yet know my purpose," then I say this: make it your first and highest aim to find one. For as long as you wander aimlessly, fear will be your companion. Search within yourself. What work ignites your soul? What dream refuses to leave your mind? What task would you dare attempt if fear did not exist? There lies the seed of your purpose. Plant it, nurture it, and soon it will grow into a mighty tree under which no shadow of fear can remain. My friends, remember this truth: fear is not destroyed by resisting it directly. Fear is destroyed by filling the mind so completely with purpose that there is no room left for it to exist. Just as darkness cannot remain where light enters, fear cannot remain where purpose reigns. Set before yourself a definite goal, declare it with your whole being, and march toward it with unbending will. Then fear will vanish, for fear cannot live in the heart of one who knows exactly where he is going. Fear is a deceiver. It appears mighty when you run from it, yet the moment you stand before it, you discover it has no strength of its own. Fear feeds only on retreat. Each step backward gives it power, each hesitation grants it authority, and each excuse allows it to grow larger than it truly is. But when you turn and confront it, when you take action in spite of trembling hands and a racing heart, you strip fear of its disguise. You discover it for what it is: a shadow. Intimidating in form, harmless in substance. Understand this: fear survives only because it remains unchallenged. Think of a child who believes in monsters under the bed. The terror is real to him, and he cannot sleep. But the moment someone lifts the blanket, looks beneath, and proves there is nothing there, the fear vanishes instantly. What changed? Nothing but his willingness to look directly at what he had been avoiding. So it is with the fears that haunt grown men and women, whether it be fear of failure, fear of poverty, fear of judgment, or fear of change. Left unchallenged, they loom like giants. Confronted, they dissolve into nothing. The tragedy of life is that many never test the strength of their fears. They allow them to dictate decisions, to silence ambition, to shrink opportunity. They say, I cannot try because I might fail, or I cannot speak for I may be ridiculed, or I cannot attempt this for it may cost me. And so they retreat, thinking they have chosen safety. But in truth, they have chosen bondage. For each retreat strengthens the chain, each avoidance deepens the habit, until fear becomes their master. The more you flee from fear, the faster it grows, until at last it governs every thought and action. But here lies the secret. The first step against fear is always the hardest and always the most liberating. The very act of confronting it begins to shrink its power. The first speech spoken in trembling tones paves the way for confident words tomorrow. The first risk taken in uncertainty opens the door to bold decisions in the future. The first attempt made, though imperfect, sends a message to the subconscious, I am stronger than fear. And that message, repeated by action, destroys the illusion forever. Action is the cure for fear. The timid soul waits for courage to appear before acting, but courage does not arrive first. It is born of action. The man who waits for courage will wait forever. The man who moves while trembling will soon discover that courage was waiting on the other side of the very act he dreaded. You need not banish fear before moving forward. You need only move forward in spite of fear. The motion itself robs fear of breath. Think of the firewalker. His first step upon the coals is taken with hesitation, but once he begins, momentum carries him through, and by the end, he stands triumphant. Or consider the swimmer who dreads the cold water. If he dips his toes, fear holds him prisoner. But if he plunges headlong into the depths, the shock passes, and he moves freely. So it is with every fear in life. The longer you stand at the edge, the stronger fear becomes. The moment you leap, fear dies. Let me remind you, no man or woman who achieved greatness did so without first standing face to face with fear. The inventor risked ridicule. The explorer risked death. The reformer risked persecution. Yet they advanced, trembling at times, but advancing still. In doing so, they proved the eternal law that fear cannot withstand action. They were no braver at the start than you are now. They simply decided that retreat was not an option. They faced what others avoided, and therein lies the difference between those who rise and those who remain. Ask yourself, what fear have you been feeding by avoidance? What opportunity have you delayed because of trembling? Is it the fear of speaking truth, the fear of starting anew, the fear of failure? Whatever it is, you must face it. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but now. For each day you wait, fear grows fatter on your hesitation. And each day you confront it, fear grows weaker until at last it vanishes. Mark this truth well, the pathway to freedom lies not in avoidance, but in bold confrontation. Fear may meet you at the door, but courage will meet you on the other side. Step forward. Speak the word you have withheld. Take the chance you have delayed. Begin the task you have postponed. Fear will roar like thunder, but when you move forward, you will discover the thunder had no storm behind it. Remember, fear is a coward. It collapses when tested. It dies when faced. It only lives as long as you run from it. Therefore, rise up, turn toward it, and act. Though your knees may shake, though your heart may race. For the moment you act, fear is defeated, and the chain that bound you is broken. Fear is born in uncertainty. It thrives where the mind asks, what if I fail? What if I lose? What if disaster strikes? It paints pictures of misfortune on the canvas of imagination. Yet there is a greater force than fear, a force that dissolves doubt, shatters hesitation, and lifts the human spirit beyond its present limits. That force is faith. Faith is not mere hope nor blind wishing. Faith is the confident assurance that what you cannot yet see is nonetheless real, and that the outcome you seek will surely come to pass if you act in harmony with it. Fear looks at the unseen and trembles. Faith looks at the unseen and trusts. Fear says, I cannot step forward because I do not see the ground beneath me. Faith says, step forward, for the ground will appear as I move. Every triumph recorded in human history was born of faith. The explorer set sail across uncharted waters, not knowing if land would be found, but believing it awaited him. The builder raised monuments where once there was only empty earth, trusting that his vision would materialize. The dreamer pursued his idea, though no one else believed, sustained by the quiet conviction that unseen forces marched with him. Without faith, the unknown becomes a prison. With faith, the unknown becomes a field of infinite possibility. Understand this: fear and faith cannot occupy the same mind at the same time. They are opposites, and one must drive out the other. Fear says, what if I lose? Faith replies, even in loss, I gain wisdom, and that wisdom will guide me to greater victories. Fear asks, what if the world is against me? Faith answers, if my purpose is just, the universe itself will conspire to assist me. Fear is concerned only with obstacles. Faith sees opportunity woven within every obstacle. Fear chains the mind, faith unlocks it. But how is faith built? It is built by practice. Just as a muscle strengthens when exercised, faith strengthens when used. Each time you choose to trust instead of doubt, to act instead of hesitate, you add a new strand to the rope of faith. Over time, that rope grows so strong it can pull you across the widest chasm of uncertainty. Begin with small acts of faith. Believe in your ability to finish the task at hand, to take the next step, to endure the next challenge. With every small victory, faith grows. And when greater trials arrive, your faith will be strong enough to conquer them. Faith is also built through remembrance. Look back upon your life. How many times have you feared the worst, only to find the outcome was far better than you imagined? How many storms have you already survived? How many burdens did you once think unbearable, yet you now carry their lessons as treasures? Each memory of survival is evidence that faith is justified. Fear lies about tomorrow, but faith recalls the victories of yesterday and proclaims, if I endured before, I shall endure again. And remembered faith connects you with powers far greater than your own. There is a law that answers to belief. When you believe with absolute conviction, unseen forces align to bring about your belief. Call it providence, call it the subconscious, call it universal law. It matters not. What matters is this: when you believe without wavering, you release energies you do not yet understand, and those energies carry you to the very destiny you have envisioned. Fear says, you are alone. Faith declares, you are never alone, for all of creation moves with the man who moves with certainty. Let me ask you, which voice rules your mind today? The voice of fear or the voice of faith? Fear says you are too weak, too small, too unprepared. Faith says you are capable, strong, and guided. Fear waits for evidence before acting. Faith acts first and creates evidence as it goes. Fear has destroyed countless dreams before they could take root. Faith has built empires out of nothing but vision and determination. Which will you choose to serve? Know this truth: the world belongs to those who believe in what cannot yet be seen. The treasures of tomorrow are hidden, waiting for those with enough faith to claim them. The fearful man sees only darkness and retreats into it. The faithful man sees a spark in the distance and marches toward it until the spark becomes a flame. And when the flame rises into a blazing fire, the fearful man says, I wish I had believed. Therefore, cultivate faith as your shield and your sword. When fear rises, declare to yourself, I will not bow to shadows, for I walk with certainty that a greater hand guides me. Let faith replace every doubt. Let it guide every step, and let it assure you that your efforts are not in vain. Do this, and fear will lose its grip forever. Every fear begins in the same place as the mind. Fear is not born in the world outside of you. It is born in the thoughts you permit to take root within you. A circumstance by itself has no power to terrify. It is the interpretation you give it that creates terror. Poverty is a fact for some, yet it is only fearful to the one who imagines it as permanent. Failure is an event, yet it is only fearful to the one who interprets it as final. Criticism is merely sound, yet it is only fearful to the one who gives it the power to wound. Thus, fear does not exist in the world. It exists in your thinking about the world. To master fear, therefore, you must master the mind. The mind is a fertile field. Every thought planted in it will grow, whether that thought be one of doubt or one of courage, one of failure or one of triumph. Most people allow their minds to become unguarded gardens, and weeds of fear grow wild, choking out every seed of ambition. But the disciplined man, the vigilant woman, stands guard at the gate of the mind and chooses deliberately which thoughts shall be admitted. They understand that thoughts are not idle. Every thought produces emotion, every emotion produces action, and every action shapes destiny. Mastery of the mind begins with recognition. You must observe your own thinking. How often do you feed the mind with images of defeat? How often do you rehearse the words of doubt, telling yourself what cannot be done? Each repetition is a command, and the subconscious obeys it faithfully. Tell yourself you are weak, and you will shrink. Tell yourself you are afraid, and you will tremble. But tell yourself you are strong, capable, and destined for victory, and your mind will begin to act as though it were true. You must understand this law. The mind cannot hold two opposing thoughts with equal strength. Either fear will dominate, or courage will dominate. Either doubt will occupy the throne, or faith will. The master of the mind is the one who chooses, moment by moment, which master shall rule. And the wise choose courage deliberately until it becomes automatic. Discipline your mind through repetition of truth. When fear whispers, "You cannot," answer with a louder voice, "I can and I will." When fear says, "The risk is too great," respond, "The reward is greater still." When fear says, "You will fail," declare, "A failure is but a step on the road to victory." With each deliberate counter, you weaken fear's hold and strengthen your mental resolve. Over time, fear loses its authority because the mind no longer accepts its lies as truth. Consider the athlete. Before he lifts a weight, he first lifts it in his imagination. Before he runs a race, he runs it in his mind. His body responds to the thoughts he entertains, and victory begins long before the starting line. So it is with you. If you entertain thoughts of defeat, you will walk into the contest already conquered. But if you entertain thoughts of mastery, strength, and certainty, then fear has no room to paralyze you. Another truth: the mind becomes what it habitually consumes. If you fill it with the poison of pessimists, the noise of doubters, and the endless tales of misfortune, fear will flourish. But if you fill it with stories of triumph, principles of success, and affirmations of power, courage will flourish. Just as the body becomes healthy by feeding on nutritious food, the mind becomes fearless by feeding on constructive thought. To master the mind is also to master focus. Fear thrives when the mind is scattered, darting from one worry to another. But when you fix your attention upon a definite aim, the scattered fears lose their hold. Concentration is the great cleanser of the mind. Fix your whole being upon the goal, and every stray thought of failure will starve for lack of attention. Do not expect mastery of the mind to come in a single day. It is the work of practice, of vigilance, of discipline. Yet every day you practice choosing courage over fear, you grow stronger. Every time you replace a thought of defeat with one of victory, you step closer to freedom. And in time, fear will no longer rule you, for it will find no fertile ground in which to grow. Mark this law well: no man or woman is free until they command their own mind. The one who allows fear to dictate thought is a slave, no matter his wealth or position. But the one who rules his thinking, who chooses deliberately what to dwell upon, is free, no matter his circumstance. To master your mind is to master your destiny. Therefore, make this your daily work. Watch your thoughts, choose them with care, and feed your mind with only that which strengthens you. When fear knocks at the door of your mind, do not let it enter. Instead, fill the chamber of your thoughts with such courage, such faith, such determination, that fear finds no place to rest. In that hour, you will have destroyed fear at its root, For the mind that is mastered by its owner can never again be mastered by fear. My friends, we have unmasked the enemy. We have seen fear for what it truly is, not a giant, not a monster, not an undefeatable power, but a shadow, a phantom that crumbles the moment you rise against it. You have learned that fear thrives only in the absence of purpose. Therefore, set your mind upon a definite goal, and let that goal burn so brightly that no shadow of fear can survive in its light. You have learned that fear dies when faced, but grows when avoided. Therefore, confront it boldly, take action in spite of trembling, and prove to yourself that fear has no substance. You have learned that fear is destroyed by faith in the unseen. Therefore, believe in what your eyes cannot yet behold, and let faith carry you across the chasm where fear once chained you. You have learned that fear is destroyed by mastery of the mind. Therefore, rule your thoughts, discipline your imagination, and choose courage as the master of your destiny. Now the choice is yours. You may continue to serve fear, bowing before its illusions, surrendering your dreams to its lies. Or you may rise, declare your freedom, and walk forward with purpose, with action, with faith, and with mastery of mind. Remember this eternal truth: fear is not real until you permit it to live within you. The instant you deny it, the instant you confront it, the instant you replace it with faith and determination, fear ceases to exist. So I call upon you, rise above hesitation, silence the voice of doubt, and step boldly into the life you were meant to live. For the world does not belong to the timid, but to the fearless. And you, yes, you, hold within your mind and heart the power to destroy fear forever. Go forth and let fear die.